welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. And as always, I say thank you so much to the returning subscribers. If in case this is the first time you're tuning into the channel, kindly hit that subscribe button. And of course, guys, today we have a very special visitor, and we are hosting him for the first time in our channel. He's someone that has juggled through drugs and substance abuse and eventually found himself. He grew up in the United States with the Congolese nationality, and in one way or the other, today he's in the University of Nairobi, undergraduate in Chiromo campus. So we're going to have a conversation with him. He's going to inspire you guys, tell you how life has been for him in between countries, also reforming himself, and what exactly made him indulge in drug and substance abuse. We're also going to, because he's going to be an inspiration to most of you, we're also going to ask him a little bit about how he's been, especially in terms of his education. So tune in, guys, until watch this video to the end. And in case you love this video, kindly don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So hello guys, this is today's guest, and he's going to do most of the introduction. I think I've said enough already.
Sure.
So who are you?
My name is Laurent Kabila. I'm mostly known as Karim, so everybody knows me as Karim. I'm a student from the University of Nairobi. I'm an undergraduate student. I'm taking Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. I'm also in the medical school, so you can just...
Oh, you're also in the medical school?
Yeah, sure. Taking pure medicine. That is in BCHB. That
wow.
is all in me. Yeah.
That is all in you. That's got to be a lot of work. Like, how are you handling all this stuff?
A lot of people ask me, how do I handle both medicine and chemistry? But you understand, when genius, always genius.
Oh, so you are a genius?
Sure.
Do you believe in geniuses? Because there's so many people who don't believe you're born bright.
I'm one. So
you're one. So I'm looking at one of the geniuses right now. Okay, so as I told you guys, when I was doing my introduction, I mentioned that you were an international student.
Sure.
What's your nationality?
Sometimes I do tell people that I'm a whole nationalist. You're
an African.
I'm an African, but you can view me as an American. I'm a European. I've been to Germany. So to just start, I'm a citizen from the Democratic Republic of Congo. As my name suggests, I'm Laurent Kabila. If I talk about Laurent Kabila, what comes in your mind is the former president.
Yeah, the former president of
Congo.
Yeah.
What if I can tell you today that was my grandfather?
If you were to say that and I didn't know you, I'd definitely say yes, because you resemble the Congolese.
Exactly. Well, I grew up in the United States, that is Texas, and that is where my background really started. And today, I'm in Kenya, and I graduated at the University of Nairobi.
Wow. How did you find yourself in Texas?
My parents, actually, my mother grew and stayed in a place called Rio de Janeiro, that is in Brazil. And then later, when I was 3, she vacated to Texas. So I spent my life in Texas, all from 3 up to 12.
So most of your education was in Texas?
Sure, I studied in Texas. That is at St. Austin. You can go deeper. I can go deeper, St. Austin.
Oh my goodness, it's like we can have a whole tour after the session.
Exactly.
You can just brainstorm my brain around.
Sure.
So you've mentioned it's like you had a very good upbringing.
Very good.
Growing up, you say your mom used to be in Brazil, and you started your education in the United States. How did you land in drugs and substance abuse?
Well, if I also speak about Texas, Texas is only known about drugs. We have gang squabbling. We have deaths day in, day out. You realize the business of the day in Texas is gangs and drugs. So as a matter of course, when you were growing up, you had a family of friends.
Yeah,
so I had friends who did that. So the peer pressure, as a small boy, the small innocent boy that was growing in the street of Texas, I joined my friends.
So yours was as a result of peer influence?
That is peer influence.
So it had nothing to do with your background at home or anything or any stress at all? It was just totally peer influence?
I grew in a place where we had everything, so why would I even do drugs because of peer influence or something? But friends, at the end of the day, I had friends. So when they did this and I was associated with them, so I was affiliated to drugs because of my friends. My background was rich, my mom was rich, my dad, we were all tycoon, but at the end of the day, I'm a human being. So
at what point do you now decide that you need to let go of drugs? And because as I was checking a story online, I saw that at one point you had to leave drugs and focus on your career, or perhaps because you've mentioned you're doing 2 courses in the university.
Sure.
And right now you're not doing drugs, I believe.
I don't do
So at
drugs.
what point do you now realize or come to realization that you need to do away with drugs and focus on your career?
Well, that is a whole long story, but I really want to cut it short. At one point, one of my friends had rumbles with a girlfriend. They had gunshotting issue with his girlfriend, and because he was my friend and it was under influence of drugs, we were all of us were being looked after. We were to be arrested by the Texas Police Department. So we migrated all. We had to run away from the United States to find refuge in other countries. So I first landed in Germany. I spent a lot of time in Germany. I had to change my identity. So when I started the conversation, I told you I'm Karim. So that was my first identity. Any other thing
So
else?
we've seen people trying, there's so many people watching this and they're really trying to get out of the drugs, and substance abuse. And most of the time it's, what does it mean to now let go of drugs when there's addiction involved and dependency involved, or you didn't get to those levels?
Well, we have personality. Does one view him or herself as a person with a substance? Are you a person with a substance? Do you view yourself as somebody who has impact to your own self before having impact to others? So I sat down and I was like, I should really make my own ways. Why would I depend on my friends, my parents, and everything? And despite the financial stability, so that really gave a sense to me that can I walk out of this? Can I walk out of drugs? You can never walk out of drag if you've never realized yourself. So I realized myself, my passion, and what I needed for my future.
And
So
you definitely noticed that the drug was like the weed in the good plant because it was ruining your career.
yeah, sure. Yeah, to be honest, it really ruined my career because
Pun intended, because it was a weed, a weed. The weed in the I was like trying, for a moment I realized that that was a pun there because you were doing drugs and I was talking about the weed, the unwanted plant.
yeah, sure.
And then but to cut the long story short, so I think you're trying to pass a message out there that everybody has to find their purpose and just realize what is hindering them from becoming what they need to become.
Exactly.
And most of the time, people that I've talked to, they say that okay, they also want to get out of that phase. They know their purpose, they know what it is not to indulge and what it is to indulge, but still they're faced with this challenge of they don't want to, but they have to. What can you say to such a person?
Well, that person out there have to understand that purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you and I. It is the reason why we're existing on this planet Earth at this particular time in history. So whenever you try to close this path and you're finding yourself that you cannot get out of drag, try to talk yourself. Am I a purpose? Am I having a discipline with purpose?
Yeah, true. Because
Uh,
I noticed so many people try to do it for their friends, their parents. I mean, if everyone out there is indulging in drugs and had the opportunity to come to self-realization, talking about people who are trying to come out of it and already know it's the wrong thing to do, if they were doing it for their own selves, because sometimes it's hard to let your own self down.
sure.
So if they were doing it, is that to me that if they were doing it for their own selves, that I have to make this difference if it's not for my mom, my dad, my friends, my peers, I have to change from within. Then that is what made it all easy for you. There wasn't any parents involved trying to, tell you this is wrong, or you just came to self-realization on your own.
But when you're doing it for your own self, you're doing drugs for your own self, you can still prosper. I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it because of peer influence from friends. That is when I decided, no, let me stop all this.
So
But a
yours,
person who is doing drug for his own self can as well go to a long way to graduate to the PhD and even succeed in life. So I was never doing it for myself. I was doing it under influence of my friends.
so yours is to say that if someone is doing it for their own selves,
And they
then
know
they
whatever
can know how to balance
Yeah,
the intake,
exactly.
because too much of anything is where the problem comes in.
Always dangerous.
So if you're doing it for your peers, the high chances you're going to lose track.
Sure.
But if you're just doing it for yourself, it isn't bound to cause a lot of damage. But how many people out there are doing the drugs for their own selves, you mean? Because a lot of people out there, of course, they're the ones consuming the substances, but mostly they, like in weed, there's a chain that goes around, and sometimes someone tries to stop, and then the friend comes over and they have to do the chain. And then some people find it so hard to say no because they're already known as smokers. So as much as sometimes people are doing it for their own selves, there's still people that are trying to get out of this loop that is what we're trying to find at least a solution for. Because you're someone that got yourself out of it, having in mind that you did it on your own. What can you tell someone that is now not doing it for themselves, but most of the time they get influenced by their peers?
Okay, well, I'll ask them. I'll also pose a question to them.
Mhm.
Why would you take drug because of somebody else?
Okay, I have a question.
Mhm.
What's your take? There are people who are successful, but they do drugs.
Sure.
Or is it that they are successful because they do drugs?
A little bit technical, but well, you can be successful because you do drugs.
Because you do drugs.
Because you do
So it is
drugs
because of the drugs that you've made
that
it
you've
that
been
far.
successful.
Wow, explain that.
Okay, would you allow me mention one of my friends who maybe see this?
No, because I think drugs is like the ego thing. We have people who are at the top, but Maki, we are humans, as you said. So it's like there are people who make it to the top, and then trying to look at these people, we realize, oh, they are not perfect. So some of their shortcomings, some of them is that they do drugs. Others, we always insist on humility and hard work. So we notice some of these people that are at the top and they're not humble, they're not intelligent as much. So sometimes, you don't cancel. I feel like, we have people that are on top and they do drugs, but they're not on top because they indulged. Or what's your take on that? Because according to me, I view it from that perspective.
Well, I want to give you one of the examples in the streets of Mississippi. This guy was coming from Mississippi. His name was Ken Okumba. You can just Google maybe anytime. He's a great drug dealer who has been successful because of his ego, his drugs every time. And today, if you meet this person, he uses drugs everywhere, all the way from Mexico back to Mississippi, and he's successful. He helps his friends and everything. So, drug is how you feel yourself. That is what I can say. Drug is
so this friend from Mississippi, Ken Okumba, did he become successful because he was smuggling these drugs, or was it because he was just indulging in it?
The father was a drug dealer.
The father
grandfather was a
so
drug
it was
dealer.
a family
This
of
is
drug
what,
dealers.
exactly. It's an inherited thing. So tomorrow when Ken is gonna die, he's gonna leave it to his son blessings. So yeah, it's a family thing.
Yeah, so it's like they have. What can you say about this? Because okay, what's your take about your friend Ken? Now that you left drugs, you stopped indulging in all that. Do you feel like Ken is in some sort of jeopardy?
Not really. Everybody has a life to live.
Everybody has a life to live. So your take on drugs is, so long as you're doing it for your own self and not because of other people, there's still a chance for you.
Sure.
What about the health effect part?
Where
does the health come in all this?
That is where God comes in.
That is where God comes in. Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Okay, personally, I believe that there has to be balance in everything, and that's why I always say that you need to try balance, because we've seen people in hospital beds really giving a warning out there to youths not to overindulge. And when we say overindulging, that is like when we say drug abuse, it's like doing too much of the drug. You're abusing the drug. So when it gets to a point where you're abusing it, before it can get to levels like dependency. There are also drugs like heroin, cocaine. We also have those pills. They're drugs that they're drugs that you cannot now stop once you start using them, and they put people in very weird situations and very critical conditions. And most of the people have even landed in hospital. They've been hospitalized to a point that they're being told that you need to stop abusing this drug or just using it. It's to a point where the drug now becomes part of the body. So it gets to a point where how much is too little? That is the question. Because if we tell these people that you shouldn't overindulge, or if we tell them that it's just okay to do it so long as you're doing it for yourself, then how much is too little? Because at the end of the day, it's not good for the health.
Yeah, sure. Again, you have to bear me witness that you will be using maybe 2 rolls today.
Yeah, 2 rolls.
Maybe of bang today, okay. And then with time it will get into your body.
Yeah, true. That's my biggest fear.
2 months later, you'll be into 4 rolls, and it will increase, and it's going to
reach a point where the dependency level is also increasing.
Yeah, sure. So you cannot tell me how much is little. Yeah,
because we're trying to tell these people they shouldn't abuse drugs.
Sure.
But then I'm like, they don't even know how they should limit themselves.
I can tell you that I'm taking 2 rolls of bang today, but you always need my private time.
Yeah, that is now the problem. Exactly. That is where the whole confusion comes in.
And therefore, drugs abuse is uncontrolled. You can never control it.
You can never control it. So the best advice we can tell people is that those who have not yet started, they shouldn't.
They shouldn't. And whoever is doing it, do it.
Whoever is doing it, do it.
Okay, well, when I talk drug, it not just drag alone. Drag alone was pulling me off from my family. Drag was bringing a lot of issues between me and my parents, between me and my friend, between me and my own self. You know, so you sit down and try to reflect like, what is your life gonna be tomorrow? So that is where
Yeah,
the
and
genius
when you talk
thing
about bringing
comes in.
issues between you and your parents, what exactly was the issues?
My mother is a famous business person
Mhm.
at Texas, and at the same time, she is a religious fanatic. When I
Yeah.
talk of religious fanatic, she is a holy person
Mhm.
who is really honored, who is really respected. And what about her son? The same way she's holy, she's expected to have a holy son. I should be having a holy upbringing.
Mhm.
But now this is an irony. It's ironical that she's a religious fanatic, and on the other side, I'm doing dread. I'm walking the street. I'm smuggling gangs and everything. You get that point? So when I sat down and I was like, if my mother is a religious fanatic and I'm a drug dealer, what about the reputations? What about the society? How will it be? We should be viewed and everything. So she reported me. The Texas Police Department were looking for me everywhere. Now only me, maybe with my friends and everything. So I felt insecure and everything. So I sat down at one point and it was like, okay, well, I need a life. I have to live and everything. So to make a decision to get off drug, I had to flew out of the United States. That is why I'm in Africa today. So the decision of not doing drag or doing, I made in Africa.
So can I ask you a very straightforward question? Would you or would you not do drugs again given a chance?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's the point. Why wouldn't you do drugs again, even given a chance?
I have personal negative experience with drug.
You have personal negative experience with drugs.
Sure.
For example.
Breakage. It's now 8 years. If dated September 19th of this year, it's gonna be 9 years off when I would never talk to my parents because of drugs. They've never called me. They don't know where I am.
No, that is the same thing that is happening in Kenya today. Perhaps if most of these people, they come to abuse drugs, especially. I think you've seen it in Kenya.
Sure.
Most of these people, when they're in high school, just a handful of people already do drugs, and even the levels at which they do these drugs, they're not as bad as when they get to campus. Now that is something that the government is really trying to curb. And the other day, the president was saying that we're losing so many youths as a result of drug abuse. So you notice that most of the time, these people just come to indulge in these drugs in campus. And people are assuming that, they have a lot of issues and they're doing these drugs as a result of toning down the stress because, campus life is full of challenges. So that is what we're trying now to tell people out there, that it is possible to get out of these drugs. And as we've stated, it's possible because you have to calm down. Perhaps your reason was different, can be different from someone watching. Maybe someone watching doesn't have parents who already know they're doing drugs. But at the end of the day, you need to have that awakening and realize that you're going to have a lot of negative impact. Because what happens when your parent finds out? And why do you think your mom, apart from, the religious perspective, do you think up to date your mom, your parents, you're not in contact with them, yet do they know you stopped doing drugs?
They've never known that, and I've never talked to them about it.
Why do you think they were so serious about you not doing drugs then?
As a matter of course, my mom needed that respect from their surrounding. She needed a society respect.
So you
And
feel
as
like
much of me staying around her would deny her the respect and the peace, she sent me away.
So how are you surviving in Kenya then?
And that also bring a very interesting part of me. Later on, she frozen my bank account.
So your bank accounts are frozen.
She did that because I was using. She made me a bank account when I was 4. She used to
Yeah,
deposit me
I know
money
how
and
they
everything. You
save
understand?
cash.
They are
Yeah, I understand how it
bringing
happens.
in
Yeah,
US
in the
and everything.
US.
And because those are documents, and then all of a sudden it was frozen.
So your mom was that dead serious. If you're doing drugs in my house, I'm not finding anything of
You go
yours.
away. You go away, and then you're gonna survive on your own. So she did that. You find yourself in a life where you have no cash, you have nobody to turn to, you get no friends, but life has to move on.
Well, being an international student in Kenya has to be a little bit expensive.
It was really
So
expensive.
who is funding your education at the time now that you're juggling between 2 courses?
I was so lucky to get a scholarship.
Oh, you're so lucky to get a
Yeah,
scholarship.
sure.
So you managed to get a scholarship, so now your education is totally being funded for.
Yeah, one of my courses, I told you, at the beginning I told you I take both medicine and chemistry.
Yeah, both
So my
medicine and
my
chemistry.
medical course was fully funded, but I was paying for my chemistry.
Chemistry, yeah, because I we are in the same faculty, by the way.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, in the university, we happen to share at the same faculty with Karim, and yeah, that is I've always noticed something so special about you, how you move about, and I was also aware that you do two courses. Only that I've never believed it because it has never come from you,
Sure.
and that is one of the reasons that I decided to host you today. So, how do you feel like? Is it we have left the drug thing, but you're definitely going back to it. But I really would want to know how life is for you, because despite the stress, now your bank accounts of because most of the people abusing drugs in Kenya, they're doing it for the stress. They don't have a peace of mind, for their mental health, for their sanity. That is, you now your bank accounts are frozen. You're in a foreign country. You'd never been to Kenya. Yeah. So at this point, you're like alone. That is gives you more in a typical situation. That gives someone more reasons to even abuse drugs. Why? How then do you cope with the situation? What can you tell someone who is doing drugs because they're trying to curb stress in their lives?
But let me ask you something before I answer that question. Today when I find you in a very low situation, you're suffering, and then I help you financially, do you think I'm indebted to you?
It depends.
If I help,
Perhaps, according to me, I didn't even feel like I'm the one who's now indebted to you because you've helped me. So in one or the other, in one day in life, I'll just have to repay you. It's not repaying per se, but if an opportunity comes about in life that I have to, be there for you, it's respectful of a man to be there for someone that has
you're
ever been
married
there
with me,
for
right?
them. Yeah.
And therefore, when I first set my route in Kenya, of course, I had to make friends because I was new to the environment, and for me to know Kenya, I had to associate with Kenyans.
Yeah.
So I got to make friends with around 20 people. I helped them financially because I had a throwaway cash, US dollars to Kenyan
Yeah, you
shillings,
had some throwaway
a
cash.
lot of
Others
money.
that you managed to get before your bank account
So
was frozen.
exactly. So I stabilized around 20 families, and when I was now running low
Oh,
and
gosh.
bankrupt and everything, they came in for me, and
They
that is
came
why
in
I
for you.
started.
Yeah, because they felt like you helped them, so they had to help you
They
back.
also saw the fact that I changed. I changed me.
Yeah.
So they, this is my son. We need to assist him.
We need to assist him. We need to make sure that he doesn't feel lonely and
Exactly.
whatnot.
And he's also strange here and everything. So I remember a family that took me all the way, introduced me to the entire siblings, and they were like, I want you to be your son. You've been here. We understand your situation. And I even landed to getting a different family. So I've been surviving.
So you've never been in contact with
My parents, no.
Oh my goodness, how does that make you feel?
Well, at the end of the day, east or west, home is the best, and your family will always remain your family.
At this point, I feel like those are just one of the repercussions of drugs.
Exactly.
Because for someone out there, it's not going to be health that is going to be at stake. But remember, these parents are people that have really been there for us at every point in life. And the fact that they were ready to drop you because they knew you were doing drugs, that means it was as much hurtful to them than it was even to you. So to some people watching out there, there's so many effects of drugs that we might not be able to break down up to date. But the point is home. Laurent Kabila here is not doing drugs anymore because he came to a standstill and told himself that it was not going to, the relationship between him and the parents was now going sideways, and also, as you've stated, your people, the family you have in Kenya now, they felt they didn't feel like they shouldn't welcome you in their homes if at all you were still doing drugs.
Sorry, drugs has a lot of repercussions. One of the repercussions we really discuss here is binding you away from your family,
which is very bad.
Then you disconnect with your friends. At one point I felt like I didn't have friends.
Which that is now what leads someone to more depression,
Exactly.
and more drugs.
As a matter of course, some of us believe in academic education. With drugs, your path with education is gone.
Yeah, you cannot mix anything. And most of the time when you talk about education, people feel like it has to be the bookwork, the classwork stuff. Life is also a classroom.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and for you to learn different things in life apart from schoolwork, you also need to have some level of sobriety. So I feel like if there must be some sort of balance.
Exactly. And then another one big repercussion of drugs is the sexual harassment and everything.
Yeah.
So
because we have things like hallucinations and impaired judgments.
Your mentality, you're controlled by drugs. You may not do things that you're really doing, but you'll do things that you really don't know what you're doing.
The things that you want to do when you were sober,
when you're sober.
It ruins relationships. The things you wouldn't say when you're sober.
You ask yourself, was this really me who was doing this when somebody else to come to this in a video and show you? So, when I sat down and I'm like, is it me? I need a real Kareem. I need the original me. I'm using a material me that bred me, So I had to run away from that.
And some of these countries, things like weed are legal. And that takes me to my next point. Most of the time when you say drugs and substance abuse, sometimes people feel like it's just abuse when you're talking about drugs that are illegal. And I mean, you can also abuse drugs that are not illegal. Some things can be legalized and they still push people to their graves. Like in Kenya, tobacco is legal. And tobacco is so addictive. And we've seen so many people getting a lot of health issues because of tobacco. So I feel like the youth at home, sometimes people have this consolation. The people who abuse alcohol, the people who abuse alcohol, and it has really made them even lose touch with reality, because that is what drugs do. They make you lose that connection with the 3D world, and you live you are always in another, fallacy. And when you're not connected to the universe, you find yourself not doing things as you should. So I also feel like something so important is people need to realize that it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is illegal for it to be a drug per se.
Sure.
Yeah, people still abuse things that are local. Yeah, and the availability of even the drugs that are not legalized is so high. Yeah. You don't even have to go far. I mean, people smoke tobacco in public. So these are things that people need to understand. And someone smoking tobacco looks at someone smoking weed and wondering, you are a sinner because mine is legal, yours is illegal. Yeah, there are also countries that, these things are legal and people can access them at any time. So people need to be taught, there are also drugs that, you can just get into a liquor store, as much as they're not sold to people under 18. That doesn't mean that people above 18 don't have their health at stake. So I think people also need to understand that, drugs and substance abuse is not good for your health if you take them at a lot of amounts.
Yeah, whether legal or
illegal, you need to take care of your own self.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you said you're an international student.
Yes, I am.
How is life in Kenya?
Oh, Kenya is a different thing. I want to give you a little story. When I first landed the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and these guys realized that there's a language barrier. I don't understand the so-called Swahili, in Kenya. You would remind me that I don't understand Swahili. So I'm there's this online ordering of a vehicle can come to pick you at a place and then drop you at
the Uber.
Exactly. When this guy realized that I never understood Swahili, he ran away with my stuff. So that was the first experience I can never forget. So I was left in the middle of Nairobi city with nothing. It's only my phone and maybe my cash. So because
they realized you're not a Kenyan.
Exactly.
So they ran away with the stuff and you don't know what to do at this point.
I don't know whom to approach. That is when too, as an international student, there's something called student pass. It's a legality that you're in this country legally.
As a student.
Mm-hmm. So it's called a student pass. The student pass is made from the DCIs of the country you're visiting and the police from your mother country.
From your mother country, yeah.
The United States of America sent me away because I was being looked for. So the only country I landed in after the DR was Kenya. Would I get this document? No. So would I even try reporting the case that my stuff had been stolen? I would be ferried back to where it came from.
Which would be so unfortunate.
Life was so dull for me. I had nobody to approach. I had nothing to do. But you know what? At the end of the day, I had to move on. So the good thing they did was they left me my phone. So
you had that chance
to
to call people. You could.
Not really. I didn't.
You didn't know people at that time yet.
So I sat somewhere.
So you just called for another Uber, or you just.
I just got some motorbike. I told them, University of Nairobi. Yes, I know. So come person.
At that time, you're still residing at the hostels.
No, I never resided at the hostel.
You never resided at
the
hostels?
I went that day. They were so hospitable to me. I found a friend who is currently my class rep, and we went to his home the following day, and I resolved all cases.
So overall, Kenyans are good?
Not really. Not all of them.
Not all of them.
The same persons who stole my things from the airport were Kenyans, weren't they?
Yeah.
The same persons who accepted me.
But that was just a fraction.
The people who accepted me at the University of Nairobi were also Kenyan.
Yeah, and you also have families.
I give it a 50-50.
No, but you need to have a stand at this point. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how is Kenya?
Well,
How good are Kenyans? On a scale of, to foreigners.
with
in
one being
particular.
the highest.
No, with 10 being the highest. On a scale of 1 to 10, you say that how good are Kenyans?
6.
6. Okay, that's fair. At least we are more than average.
Actually.
So how is life like as an international student in Kenya? Perhaps you talk about school life first, and then you'll tell me life in general.
Okay, in school, for the school life, there's for my case, I'm experiencing life in 2 dimensions. I mean, experiencing life as an international student who doesn't speak Swahili, and
Oh my
then as an
God.
international student. So there's this worst part that I don't speak Swahili, and every Kenyan goes around. I'm a black. I'm a
Yeah,
common
everyone
person.
expects you to be Kenyan.
Exactly.
So you go to shops, you go to the local mama mbogas. I
Yeah.
guess you know them by now.
Exactly.
And it's so hard for you to communicate.
Somebody comes to me, Heberi Eko, and I'm like, what are you saying? Akuna Matara. Some of the common things that I know, and I'm like, I'm getting it so hard. By the end of the day, I really want to know this.
So Swahili is simple. You should have learned some 1 or 3 words there.
The two are spoken are also
Habari yako.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not habari yako. It's habari yako.
And Hakuna Matata.
No, not Hakuna Matata. It's Hakuna Matata.
Oh,
and we even told foreigners that there's a time like that.
Yeah.
Kenyans will never use something like that. Hakuna Matata. You'd never hear a Kenyan say, Hakuna Matata means there's no problem. You'd never hear a Kenyan say,
Sure.
Ati Hakuna Matata. Very rarely. And it's like every foreigner comes in and says, Hakuna Matata. And you're like, we even told you there's something like that in Kenya. I mean, but anyway.
I watched that in animation, the Lion King.
Yeah.
So, there's that part of me that I don't understand Swahili, and it makes me so hard to really communicate with people, especially in the campus.
Mm-hmm.
So you're realizing because I'm black, the dark skin, everybody expects to speak Swahili, and at the end of the day, they're getting more. Like, people want to know me. Now, that is another part. When I tell you, would you mind speak to me in English, and they're like, who are you? Why don't you understand
Kenyans are so used to
Swahili?
Swahili, so it becomes so hard.
Where do you come from? Why are you here? The last time I was in our school, we have deans. I was in dean's office. I was like, I don't understand Swahili. I was like, where do you come from? They want to know everything about you.
They want to know. The moment you just break it out to someone you're not a Kenyan, you're in for another problem.
And then you don't understand Swahili. That is the worst. So they want to know.
So you have to explain to people where you come from.
Exactly. Where you grew at, which country doesn't speak Swahili in Africa, and everything you bring in the USA, that is another ambiguous thing.
Because you also have a dark story or maybe a private story you wouldn't want to be telling everybody you meet.
Exactly. So when it comes to that part, I never find it good. I can tell you for a matter of fact that I don't like it at all.
Yeah, so it's really giving you a time, but you still have to live with it.
Because
at the end of the day, everyone in Kenya speaks Swahili.
Exactly. I've tried to enrolling in some Swahili, so maybe I can know 1 or 2.
Yeah, there are programs online to learn Swahili.
Yeah, sure, it's online, and they say
I've only known of programs online such as Duolingo, but they only offer courses for French and Spanish.
But at the end of the day, I realized that I'm never going to stay in Kenya, so I really don't need to learn Swahili. Would I do the Swahili program online at the same time taking medicine, chemistry?
Yeah, you have a lot of things to balance.
Why would I know Swahili?
I wanted to ask you a question. Having your bank accounts being frozen, and now you're in Kenya, you have those who are sponsoring education and everything. How do you go about, these small expenditures? You have to pay sometimes, a ride, a bus fare. How do you juggle for these small expenditures in the Republic?
I said before that I'm black. The skin has favored me. So when I go to Kenya and I got the troubles, sometimes I view the troubles as my past are now coming to really haunt me, not to be who I am. So I tried to be in Kenya, socializing with these people. I've even known how, I saw my friends selling sweet. I was like, would we sell sweet together? I've tried living. These people want to do online.
And they feel like you're the best person to really introduce them to the online space.
They reach me. Some people want to do assignment and they're like, you're genius, right? Would I give you assignment for me? I give you $20,
So it's like you have people coming in and it's favored you to it.
Exactly. And then there's a point I say that, the first time I was here, I helped some 20 families. They came for you.
Exactly. So having 20 families, that's like, having 20 parents.
Exactly.
Bombshell. It's like you have now too much.
And my life is better.
And your life is only getting better. Having mentioned that your skin has favored you, do you feel like if I told you had a different color, life in Kenya would have been different?
So different, because I have a friend from Afghanistan. He's called Said. He's the current IO8 representative.
Yeah, the
You
current IOH representative.
Yeah.
He's
Every-
a white.
The white.
Yeah, I also have
You know what I mean?
my also IOH representative in my
Keval?
Keval.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's also
Exactly the
white.
the white. So
And I
he's
can
the
recall
brother.
the day we were being admitted in the university.
Mm.
I was just looking at him, wondering, that guy must be rich. That guy must be
Exactly.
rich. Yeah.
So this at one point I was working with Hussein, and he's white. I'm a black. He understands Swahili. I don't
You don't
understand.
understand Swahili.
So somebody comes to me and like habari yako, and I'm like, Hussein laughs at me. So
Because you know Swahili, you don't know Swahili.
And then he talks to Hussein habari yako, and he say poor, and I'm like,
So you look like
it's
the
an
trainer
irony.
in this case.
Exactly, an irony. So it's never been easy. It's not easy, to be honest. Never easy. So my dark skin hasn't favored me in a way. But if I
So
was
you
to
feel
be a
like
white,
if you were white, people had given you a space, like, okay,
yeah,
he's white, obviously doesn't know
understand.
Swahili.
Exactly. But the fact that I'm black, everybody assumes that I know Swahili.
How racist are Kenyans in a scale of 1 to 10?
3.
3. Yeah, in fact, we love whites more than we even love our own.
They do.
That's the irony, because the moment we realized Cavallo's in our class, we were like, everyone wants to know, who are you? Yeah, so it's like we always have, whites have a upper hand.
Exactly.
In our country, as compared to what you experienced in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Because you grew up as a black in a country full of
blacks. and then Texas is a home of blacks.
It's a home of blacks.
Home of blacks.
So they're the ones who now mistreat mistreat is a strong term.
Maybe
it's like you call the shots there in Texas.
Exactly. Maybe if you go to the state of Mississippi, you go to California, you go to Georgia,
so you've never
Arizona.
You've never experienced racism.
Yeah, I've ever experienced that in the United States of America, but I grew there, so I understood this. And like you today going to America, and then you experience racism, they will be different.
Yeah.
You remember there's this time when somebody was, a black was killed, and it was all over Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I could recall, and so many artists did music about it.
Exactly. So, in America, especially in Texas, there's no racism because a lot of people are black. But
I feel like the whites are still being,
Yeah. Go to Arizona, go to Georgia, Mississippi, there's a lot of racism. So in Kenya, do we have a state? Do we have states in Kenya like?
No, we just have counties of which in all those counties everybody's black.
Is black. But do we have a county where, we regard this as a county with rich people, this with low people?
Social stratification is also in Kenya, but now it doesn't narrow down to counties. You'd still realize that in a certain county or even in a certain constituency or a certain ward, there are people who are known to be rich. And as you go up the ladder, it increases. So in Kenya, unlike, I wouldn't say that people in Nairobi are rich. Now Kenya, there's still the gap between the rich and the poor is not as vast as India.
Okay.
So we don't leave each other. Like the rich and the poor, the margin between the rich and the poor is not too big because there's a middle class in between.
Okay.
So in every place you go, you'd realize that there'd still be a rich man, and
the same way you'll step in America and ask, which state is full of blacks? They'll tell you
Texas. Yeah.
Correctly. Which state is full of white? They tell you, can you visit it?
Yeah. Then Kenya doesn't come in shades of black and white because other there are other tribes then that now when it comes to Kenya, we know these tribes. Now ours is narrowed down to characters. You'd hear people say, that's a Luo, they should be a certain type of way. So now that narrows down to tribalism, tribal. Yeah. With that, it doesn't go to racism, it's not tribal. And that's also an issue we are handling because I'm a Luo and in campus also. Sometimes it even gets to school politics, but I do take part in school politics.
I love politics, so why should I do it? Currently, I'm in politics. I'm a leader at the University of Nairobi. So yeah, of course I do politics.
Now that gets us to your life as an international student.
And as a politician. Yeah, sure.
So how does it go about for you? Because for us, I can say that sometimes there's issue with this, tribalism. I mean, it's not as it used to be, but tribalism is still an issue I can say we're still dealing with. Because even in campuses, you'd see some people don't want to vote in someone solidly because they are not from the same tribe. How have you? Is that something you've noticed?
No, for me, as an international student, politics we have a upper hand.
Yeah, you have a upper hand
because when I step in politics, I met people like somebody called Maureen Nassimiu.
Yeah, I know Maureen Nassimiu.
And do you know the current president called Mali?
Yeah.
These are some people who really introduced me to politics, and as a matter of course that I was an international student, there's no tribal issues, there's no racism, there's no door issues. They placed me there fully. I've really enjoyed politics. These were competent people. Maureen Nassimiu.
Yeah, I know Maureen so much because she's been a leader. She started from all the steps and did it to the top.
Because then she was a leader. She needed a successor. She
Yeah.
nurtured me.
Yeah, because I can recall out the screens of the screens you're telling me, Maureen is like a mom to you. Because she's like she's been mentoring you in terms of politics.
Sure.
So how is politics generally in UoN?
Politics in the University of Nairobi is so cool, so long as you're wise, you're competent enough. I mean, you're wise, you're competent enough, and then everything is okay. You know how to play your card. You know how you can balance your books and politics. It's okay. It's good with you because I've served from the time I joined the University of Nairobi. I first served as the overall first year representative.
Yeah, I know that.
I went ahead to be re-elected on the same post. So I was representing the entire University of Nairobi first years and the second year under the body called the Organization of University of Nairobi Science Students.
Honors.
Exactly, that one. Currently, I'm also trying to. I'm the aspiring president of the entire University of Nairobi come 2024. 2025, 2026. And right now, I'm also in a team supporting a person who is also going to win. So it's when you're in politics, it's all in your blood. It's everything for you. I live in politics. I love politics. I've been nurtured. I'm competent enough, and I can lead. So it's all good for international students. But take a course when I was a Luo, for example. I was, that is the only tribe that I know in Kenya. So sorry for use that as an example. If Maureen Nathimi is a Luo, I'm also a Luo. Would she nurture me? She won't. Why? Because of the tribal. We are same tribe.
So you feel like sometimes tribalism gets to a point where people from the same tribe now don't want to work together.
Exactly. It's a role. It's a role in the University of Nairobi. Diversification of tribes.
Yeah, diversification of tribes. So there's no way you want to be a governor and then your other, your mate is also a Luo, so both of you are Luos.
Exactly.
So they want diversification.
Yeah, sure.
They want every person to feel, they want to involve everybody, inclusivity.
Exactly. So due to the fact of the inclusivity and everything, you can never have people of the same tribe at the same time.
Oh.
That is why it's never easy for you to nurture your own.
But so you have to nurture someone from the different tribe.
Exactly. But
I feel that's
as a matter of course, an international student without any tribe.
No, you didn't have anywhere you stand on.
Yeah.
You can be nurtured by a Luya, you can be nurtured by a Luo, you choose your own stand.
Yeah. So that is.
Do you feel like that's something you'd have an advantage over in another country?
In another country, yeah, maybe if I know their constitution, but as per the constitution of the University of Nairobi, we are favored. That is why I love the constitution. I love University of Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, just to wrap up on this, there's someone that is really wondering how you've juggled through life in all these perspectives. Yeah. You've had a lot in your plate, and by now I'm not sure you've even turned 25 yet. So someone is really
just 21.
You're just 21. So someone is really wondering, you've already gotten into drugs and walked out, which is something most people are trying to do. It takes them so many years. You were doing two courses at a time. You're already in politics. You're just in your second year. You're achieving things that even myself have not achieved by now. What is the secret?
Let me get off the notion I'm a genius. So let me get that.
Yeah, because that now got me thinking, who is born bright and who isn't? We'll have to have that conversation after this.
Exactly. Now, if you sit down and you reflect on yourself, who are you? What do you want? That is me. So that is how I came to balance all this.
So the awakening comes from the purpose.
Exactly.
You have to know who you are.
So who am I? I'm Lorraine Kabila. What is my background? I'm the then grandson of the great politician Lorraine Kabila from Congo. Should I disappoint my origin? No.
No, you don't have
I cannot do that, right? I'm coming from the lineage of presidents. So as a matter of course, I need to be succeeding these people. So I sit down and like, who am I? I'm a famous person. I'm iconic. I'm a legendary. So that aside, what do I want? I want to be successful. I want to represent my country. I want to be the president for my own country. I want to, I want to achieve at the age of 26, 4 years. That is 5 years from today. I'm 21 today. 5 years later, I'll be 26. I want to achieve all those, and then it begs the last question. I mean, who am I? What I want? Who will I be? So you sit down and you realize that you're doing drugs. Can drug make you be who you wanna be? No, you get drug off, and then it brings out politics, and politics makes you who you want to be. Yeah, because why? My lineage is politically oriented, right from my grandfather, my great grandparent, my parents, and everything. In exception of my parents, but then the great has been politician. So you sit down and politics can do me. Yeah, let me engage in politics. But again, by being a politician, do you have a title? We have great politicians who are doctors, who did PhDs and everything. So then begs the question: should I continue in academic because I need a title? I need a title doctor. I'm a medical student. I need I need masters. I need to go to the PhD and everything. I'm in the chemistry school. So academics comes in. So I'm still emphasizing on the word purpose. What is your purpose for life? Are you prioritizing yourself?
Yeah. So me personally, I always break it down to two things. You have to choose if you want to do or to be. Most of the time, if you want to be, you have so little in your plate. That is why so many people lose track. If you want to be, you have things you yourself you chose to do. So it comes a time where someone has to choose where they want to be or they want to do. If you want to be somebody, then you have so little work. If you want to be a successful business owner, eventually you're going to become a successful business owner. So you lose your purpose. So having purpose comes with you choose between you want to be or you want to do, and you cannot mix both. So, like if a politician, like for you, you ventured into politics, it's maybe because of your you'd want to do this for you and do this for you and that, not because you want to be a governor. And that's what is making our politics to be so hard, because people just want to be presidents. The people who choose to do, the people who say, I want to do this for my country, I want to do this for the poor, I want to do this for the rich, I want to do this. If you want to do, it becomes easier. So someone out there that wants to change from drugs, I'd say that the easiest way to get into your purpose is choosing whether you want to be or you want to do. To be is to become. If you want to become somebody, you will become that somebody. But then what happens next? So you have to choose to do. I want to do this by the time I'm 20. I want to do this. Because if you keep telling yourself, I want to become this, then you have so little in your plate. Because at the end of the day, that's why I was telling you, you'll still become the richest man in the world, but you are full of ego, you're abusing drugs, you cannot be used as an example to the upcoming generation.
Sure.
But the people say, I want to do. I want to be remembered, so I have to do this. We remember people for the things they did, not for the things for what they were. That is why today, if I'd ask you all the presidents of the United States, the people you wouldn't mention, but the few you'd mention is because of what they did. So my advice to everyone watching back there at home, it was a very nice interview. I hope you enjoyed from home. And just what I can tell you guys is always choose to do rather than to be, because when you become somebody, the purpose gets away. But if you choose to always do, you never exhaust what you want to do. Today you'd want to, get to campus like Laurent did, and you'd still realize that the reason he's even in school is because he'd still want to get to politics. So he's doing all this because he'd want to do more, not to become more. Otherwise, by the time you become a doctor, you can still stop there.
Sure.
But it's not because you want to become, you want to do, right?
Exactly.
So what's the last thing? Maybe you can just look at the camera and tell your fans out there, you have families you've helped, you have so many people looking up to you. What is it you'd want to say to someone juggling through life?
I think I'll repeat this. First, big up to my family, those who we've been together in this. If not for them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and sorry for everything that happened to me. I'm the one person who walked out of drag and now enjoying the freedom of life. The benefits of education. That is me. That is me. So I still want to repeat this. Find purpose. Purpose is an essential element of us. It is the same reason for purpose that we are existing on this planet Earth. So if you
procreate.
Exactly. So if you're going to choose to walk your career path, walk it with purpose. Press on with purpose. Press on with a little pride. Press on with a lot of reasons, and then you're gonna be who you are. If there is anybody else there who's still using drag and wanna get off drag, you're free to find me. Let us have a table talk. Let me tell you how God off these drugs, and you're gonna get off too. But if there's another person who is really aspiring to be a drug dealer, or rather take drug, a drug addict or something, forget about that. Leave drugs.
Yeah.
And then if there is a person who is undecided, keep being undecided forever. Find
Oh my
purpose.
goodness.
Find purpose. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna mess your life. So find purpose. That's it. Purpose.
Yeah, so guys, that was a very interesting conversation with Laurent Kabila, a student from the University of Nairobi, who also happens to be doing 2 courses at the university. He's also an international student, and we've had a splendid conversation. You'd also, if you'd want to share your story with us, you can get to your my social handles there, and you can always say Mana Sophie, and I hope this conversation was fruitful. Have a nice week ahead.